was very clear that Chuan Jin had a personal grudge against me, and now that he's gone, hopefully things change. I just want to do my best to be a supportive member of the team.
Soh Rui Yong of Singapore, SEA Games marathon champion, the man who's the national record holder for every distance between 5,000 meters and marathon.
I think the Singapore Marathon is a competition that I can win all the way to I'm 45. Might sound a bit arrogant, but if you think I'm arrogant, come and stop me.
What motivated you to get into long distance running or just running in general?
In JSC, I met Coach Stephen Kwek. I remember at the age of 16, he spoke to me and he was like, at your age, Fandi Ahmad was scoring goals in the national stadium, 60,000 people. What are you doing at your age? You don't take this seriously or not? The fact that I still remember that conversation till today means he flipped the switch in my head.
Breaking the national records for the 5,000 meters, both track and road, 10,000 meters, both track and road, half marathon and a full marathon, and still undisputed. Describe into words how that feels.
I always tell people that the brightest memory of all my national records was my. But yeah, it's been fun.
Just really curious about your recent ban from the Asian Games. Can you shed some light on the reasons why?
The reality is that the Singapore National Olympic Council was not the most transparent, and if I say any more about that, they're probably going to ban me for another 20 years, and maybe my sons and my grandsons as well.
Better not.
So I'm just a real guy, and people may not realize it, but national athletes are all real people. Some people just hide their flaws better than others. But if I can represent Singapore again, I'll deliver, and if I can't, then so be it.
Why not we start by introducing yourself, very briefly, what's your name, what do you do?
Started recording already? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Hi, my name is Rui Yong. I am 32 years old this year. I'm currently finishing my Bachelor of Laws in London at University College London. This is my second university degree I'm finishing after my Bachelor's of Science in Business Administration. This was back in December 2015. I got that degree. I've worked since then and run since then, and I've run my way to a couple of SEA Games gold medals in the marathon and a silver medal in the 10,000. And currently I'm fortunate enough to own every Singapore record from 5K to the marathon. So I've been enjoying this journey. It's been something I do as a huge part of my life, but also just one of the many things I do. So currently what I do is I'm finishing my law degree. I've started my own startup. So it's a marathon coaching academy. Currently the academy serves more than 30 clients, and I actually lead a team over here in London as well called the Battersea Bandits. It's a bit of a interesting name, because what happened was that we kind of broke away from a group that we all met through a group that we were training with, but there were some complications with the coaching situation, and some people not being treated right, and some of that stuff. Long story short, I started leading the group because I was doing my own training and I was running better than almost everyone on the group, bar maybe 3 guys, at least for the half marathon distance. So the guys saw me running, and they saw me training a lot less intense than they were. My intervals were always slower, my easy runs were always slower. I didn't do anywhere near as much mileage, but when it came to the half marathon, I ran 66:45 last year in Valencia, and that was a Singapore record, and that was faster than everyone except 2 guys in the team last year. So one by one they were asking, "Hey, Ray, we don't understand how you can train at this level, but you seem to be performing here." I said, "Well, there's such a thing called overtraining." I said, in my humble opinion, I think a lot of you are doing that. But eventually, long story short, that coach eventually got suspended for something else, another issue relating to a junior. I mean, it was a bit of I don't know the details of it, but it sounded like there's a bit of negligence going on there. Again, don't quote me on that. But essentially, the group kind of lost its way, and I mean, there's a mixture of the guys who were with me running well, and a mixture of that, confusion on that end. But eventually, a lot of them ended up training with me, and we got some new recruits from elsewhere as well. So right now, I lead a team of 11 here, and we actually had 5 new guests over the weekend. So out of the 5, if a few of them decide to convert and join us full time, then we might have even more. So yeah, London Marathon is coming up around the corner, 13 days from today. So this being a London-based team, the London Marathon is incredibly important. We have got a few guys going to London, hoping to run good times and compete well and enjoy the race, really. So yeah, very happy with that. And yeah, so started up my own academy, but also started a team here in London that is only growing strength to strength.
Just
Yeah.
to be clear, these two entities are separate, yeah? Your own academy and the Battersea group. Two different.
Yeah, I mean so they're separate in essence that the Battersea group is is by all means a pretty quick group. You know, not world class, like not representing the UK, but you know the men are all running about 2:30 for the marathon or a bit slower, and the women are all running about 2:40 for the marathon or a bit slower. So yeah, pretty good. I think for context, the fastest guy in Singapore ran 2:36 last year. That was Aaron, who's also on my academy. Like he joined me in December or January. So Aaron Justin Tan trains with the academy as well. So and everything I do via the academy. This is a global service, so like you can be anywhere in the world. Time difference doesn't matter as long as you are willing to train and you know you prefer an individualized approach. Now some people prefer joining groups, but other people prefer training by themselves. And there are benefits to both, but a huge benefit to being able to train by yourself is you can have a really individualized program for you, targeting your kind of like workout zones, but also like taking into account your lifestyle, how many hours a day you work, what's the best time of day or the week to run, as compared to you know forcing yourself into a group and then you can only train when the group is training. So yeah, but the group does provide good social aspects, and some people thrive off of that group energy. So yeah, now you realize that you know it's not as simple as just writing a session on paper and like asking people to do it. It's like motivation, psychology, pedagogy, and definitely a bit of science. You know, don't write stuff that doesn't make sense, but the science is just one component. Like it's both an art and a science when it comes to coaching.
100%. Right, that's wonderfully. I think a lot of people will appreciate that remote aspect that you offer as well, right, for your academy. Yeah. So, I mean, you're currently living in the UK for your studies. I mean, you're saying UCL, right? Was it? And
yes.
You're studying law. So, what made you choose law, and how do you find living in the UK so far?
Why made we choose law? I mean, law is such a versatile topic to study, right? Like, you know, be it in business. Okay, first of all, you study law. Like a lot of people choose to study law and eventually become lawyers. They become a lawyer. I mean, like there are also so many aspects of law. You know, like there's what you see on television. You know, that the TV series and everything. Like you know, real life work in law is not like that. I think many people might think of lawyers and think you know like criminal law, but criminal law is just like a really small part of the wider legal industry. And in many ways, like the legal like criminal law in practice is not as glamorous as you see on TV because you don't get paid very much, and you see some pretty dark aspects of human life. You know, you see like people at their worst really. But you know that being said, there are also a lot of problems with the legal representation and legal systems, right? I mean, for a long time, if you're black, for example, you never got a fair trial in the US. I really recommend people watch these two law movies. One is The Trial of the Chicago 7, where a judge was incredibly biased, and eventually, like one of the black accused was given a retrial because of the sheer amount of bias that the white old man judge was showing against him. So, I mean, that's one example. The other movie I was thinking was Just Mercy, where Michael B. Jordan is a black attorney who graduated from Harvard and like moves to Alabama to defend to defend accused black men who were not getting fair trials either. And some of them get a death penalty even though they are innocent. So, and you know, like systems can make mistakes, people can make mistakes, and that's why, like, you know, I really believe in like studying the law and like, you know, figuring out how it all works. At least you're equipped to make a difference. Now, that being said, I've always seen a future for myself in sport if I could find an area that I can like really contribute. Because you know what, I like sports. You know, it's part of my life. I think even when I'm done competing at the SEA Games or at the Asian Games level or whatever, I will still be able to compete as a top amateur. You know, like, you know, I think the Singapore Marathon is a competition that I can win all the way till I'm 45. Might sound a bit arrogant, but if you think I'm arrogant, come and stop me. I'm just saying that, you know, it in terms of keeping yourself fit and healthy, I think I've been quite good at that, and because I picked up the right habit, I do think I can continue sharing these tips with other people who might be keen to implement a bit of like fitness and health in lives as well. So, but that's what I think, and I think that even if you're working 8-9 hours a day, I mean, I wouldn't really recommend working more than that. I know some people have to, but life is short, right? Like, unless you enjoy your work that much, life is too short to spend so much of it doing something that you don't like. And sure, money, but sometimes we get carried away with money, and lots of us end up working jobs that we don't like and we hate just to so your bank account looks better, so the numbers in your bank account look better.
100%, and I think that's very great advice, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners will really appreciate that. And I think you always put the money where your mouth is, and you always walk the talk. So I don't see that all as arrogance. I think it's confidence, and I think that's great. And just before we dive into your running career, just a very quick question. I mean, so far you said you studied a bachelor's and then you studied law. I mean, it's an interesting educational journey so far. I mean, studying in different countries, right? I want to ask, like, your experiences in Singapore, in the US, in the UK. I'm just very interested as to how you feel the education system in Singapore is different to that of the other countries that you have lived and studied in.
Okay. What do you think the difference is? What do you think the difference is? Do you have a guess? Do you want to hazard a guess?
You want me to take a guess?
Yeah, hazard a guess.
Okay, I mean, personally, I mean, I'm born and bred Singaporean, live in Singapore, study in Singapore, but I did my university in Australia for 3 years.
Nice.
So, I would say Singapore is very cookie cutter, very rigid, very strict, very disciplined in a way. It's like preparing you for a certain route. Whereas when I was studying in Australia, it's more individualized, it's more unique. It allows you to study, gives you that autonomy, that freedom to really venture out and make mistakes, and not being afraid of making mistakes and learning from them. And
I think that's quite a valid observation. I always thought that so I did 1 year in the National University of Singapore Business School before I went over to the US on exchange, and I liked it there so much, and I decided to transfer my credits over and finish my degree there. But I mean, put it this way, when I was in NUS, I always felt that it was JC all over again. There was a lot, like the teaching style, the enormous pressure on small tests or exams or whatever, or the mugging. I felt there was a lot of that, and I don't know if it's changed now. I doubt it's changed very much in the last 11 years or whatever. But I felt your JC all over again. I mean, obviously you don't have to wear a uniform, and you're an adult, so there's a lot more stuff going on. Maybe there are more parties and all that kind of stuff. But essentially, I don't know whether there's, and I think that one thing that is lacking in Singapore for the universities is there's no school identity and school culture, right? In the US, people are really, really proud to come from the school they come from, and it doesn't have to be a Harvard, an MIT, and a Yale or Princeton or whatever. I mean, you go to some of the top world universities, all right, fine, maybe I can understand there's a bit more strong identity there, but we're talking about University of Oregon State, or University of Tennessee or Kentucky or whatever. These are not the top schools in the world academically, but they're still super proud to come from these schools, right? It's almost like a tribe. And when you go to alumni from the schools, they have the Kentucky flag or the Oregon scarf hanging on the walls and everything. It's quite nice, it's quite nice. It's quite nice to be proud of where you're from. Whereas, I don't think anyone is rushing to the NUS co-op to buy a NUS sweater to wear around. I mean, one thing is that I guess sweaters are not very practical in Singapore, but no one's rushing to buy NUS t-shirts either. Whereas people are wearing their university shirts in the US and walking around all the time. There's a bit of that pride, and I think a lot of that comes from sports. Every school has a sport that they're strong in and they invest in. So it's usually the football team that brings a lot of excitement to the school. So that's the sports culture that they have. A lot of the sports culture in the US that we don't really quite have that in Singapore. And I think that sports for a long time hasn't been. I mean, we're a young country, so we haven't really built that culture, but we've never started building that culture because the focus has always been on other things like, getting a job, being good in math and science, and then like getting a good job and getting a HDB and an expensive car, and then like getting married, having kids, and then it's your turn to grow old, and hopefully you have enough money left before you retire, right? But that's, like you said, it's a very cookie cutter approach. I highly recommend people watch this. It's called Model Citizen, dystopian animated short film. It's obviously like Singapore is. I'm not going to call Singapore a dystopia on air, but there were some things in there that are quite similar to some parts of our society. What is a model citizen? Like in this dystopia, a model citizen, and this dystopia is run by robots, right? So a model citizen is someone who grows up, doesn't complain, gets a job, gets married, has kids by a certain age, and then your sole purpose in life is to raise your kid to be a productive member of society. And the moment your kid grows up and goes up to a family of his own, there's no more purpose for you. You walk to a congregation area where robots just execute the old people because you are no longer of a productive use of society. So that's pretty crazy. And it's very dark, obviously, but it's so popular, by the way. It's got like 14 million views in 4 years. Yeah, so I mean, people can identify with some of these dystopian stories because they do reflect our society in some ways. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I highly recommend giving that a watch. But it is what it is. Obviously, policies are there for a reason, and now I sound like the government saying this, but people have laid these policies for a reason, right? Like be it for safety and security, and it just depends on what you prioritize as a country over anything else. Like sometimes if you want to prioritize stability, it means throwing away individualism and freedom of speech, because with individualism and freedom of speech, the potential for greatness is a lot higher, but there's also a risk of discord. So what we do in a place like Singapore is we really like flatten out the risk, and like so everyone is kind of safe, but no one is really able to really chase their dreams, but also no one is really gonna fall very foul of the norm. Yeah.
That makes total sense. I mean, I was also interviewing some of the athletes, and most of the athletes, if you've seen that I've interviewed, they are mostly studying in the US, and they say the same thing. I mean, it's totally different when it comes to the sports culture there. It doesn't have to be like the biggest universities. Wherever it is in the US, sports is a huge thing. So yeah, I mean, it's all along the same lines. Yeah, the sports culture is huge over there. It's like 1,000 times different, or even more than Singapore. They take it really, really seriously, and it's more celebrated over there. With families. And
I mean, okay, if you want me to go in hard, I can really give you some painfully raw examples as to why I have a lot more fun doing sports here compared to Singapore back.
Go for it.
Let's talk about the things that Singapore cannot control first. Okay, things you cannot control, stuff like the weather, you cannot uproot Singapore and float as an island all the way north or whatever. That's not gonna happen. So we cannot control the weather, but Singapore's heat and humidity really makes it very hard to enjoy long distance running, for example, outdoors. Here it's I can go for a 16K run, come back, it's like my shirt is dry, it's not that I'm not sweating. I am sweating, but the sweat evaporates and it cools off your body.
It's different,
right? In Singapore, I come back after a 5K run and I'm sweating drenched head to toe. Now, there are some benefits to that. The benefit is that you can do less work but get your heart rate equally high, right? But if you're talking about preparing the body to run 42 kilometers or 21 kilometers or whatever your race distance is, you kind of need to put in the miles, right? And put in the time on your feet. And if it's really hot and humid outside, it makes it less likely that people are going to enjoy it. So they're not going to enjoy it. Why bother doing it? And there's less people do it. There's less of a community, and then so on and so forth. So in Singapore, the sports that we usually do well in are the rich man sports. I know, like bowling, sailing, sports like that, but the sports that the whole world can compete in, football and athletics. I mean, these are the two most accessible sports in the entire world. We are a little bit far behind. Now, partially it's also genetics, right? I'm sure genetics plays a part. But that being said, the Japanese, I don't think the Japanese are too different from us in terms of genetics, but they succeed in almost any sport they put their heart and soul into. So I think a lot of that is also they take pride in what they do. Critical mass is there. Sure, they have better weather most of the year for endurance sports, for example. But the Japanese record for the marathon is amazingly fast. It's 2:04 high. Now, I have my reservations about the Japanese system. I wouldn't put my kid into the Japanese system because it's extremely high mileage. They train like 2-3 times. A lot of them train 3 times a day, which is fucking crazy. Right? three times a day, 250 to 300k a week. And my observation has been that when you put thousands and thousands of runners through the meat grinder, lots of them will get injured, lots of them get burnt out, but there will be a few that make it to the top. And those are a few that you run your 204, 205, 206, 207. But what are the chances your kid is going to be there? Statistically, your kid is going to be like turned out and spit out, and you're going to hate running, right? And some of them, even after running the Japanese record or whatever, I think the current Japanese record holder is Kengo Suzuki. He ran his 204.50, and then he's been struggling ever since we get back there. He recently ran Tokyo. I think he ran like 7 minutes off his best time and stuff. So it's just not very fun. And I think that probably he got injured, stress fractures, or like just sometimes your adrenal system is just fried from all training. Some permanent damage goes on there. So, I think the most sustainable Japanese runner in history has been Suguru Osako, who made the Olympics in 2012, 2016, and 2021. And he just made the Olympics of 2024 as well. So he will be on 4 Olympic teams, which is amazing. But he didn't train in the Japanese system. He was in the Japanese system till 19 years old. Then he went to the US. He went to Oregon, actually. So when I was in Oregon, I saw him running around a couple times.
Nice.
Osako. He used to train with the Nike Oregon Project. The Oregon Project has since gone under. Their coach, Alberto Salazar, got suspended for breaking anti-doping laws. But the point is that Osako wasn't in the Japanese system for his whole life. He went to the US and he was exposed to a more sustainable system, and in my opinion, a more scientifically based, like more keep up the times kind of system. Japan is still quite old school in the sense that you have these Japanese coaches going around the world and like learning from the US, or learning from the Australians. But when you go back to Japan, they do exactly the same thing. And there's actually a blog about this written by Melissa Duncan, who's a friend of mine who from Australia. She got signed by the Shiseido team and went to Japan. She for the first time in her life started running 3 times a day, and then she got injured, and then I think her leg was hurting or something like that, and the coach told her it's because you're too fat, and then asked her to limit her food intake. So she was already like her body was trying to heal, couldn't heal properly because lack of nutrition, and the coach asked her to eat less. So she lost weight. Injury didn't get any better. Still forced her to run 3 times a day. Eventually realized that she had a stress fracture in her leg, and by then all the damage is done. And she took a long time to recover from the damage that was done in Japan. And she was the one who said that. She wrote in a blog on Japan Running News. You can go check it out. But she said that it's so old school, and all the coaches are all like old Japanese men. And even though they go overseas and they learn from the Americans or the Australians or whatever, they go back and do exactly the same thing, like super high mileage. And the Japanese, and this is what is good about them, they put a lot of pride in the ability to hurt. They really like respect people who can take pain. Now, I'm all for that, but also doesn't mean you like go out and suffer pain every single day, because they're not that's a sustainable way to do things. So but I can talk all day on the different culture.
Wonderful. Great insights. Okay, so let's dive straight into your running career. How did it all start for you? What motivated you to get into long distance running or just running in general?
I think that I got motivated to start running because my mom used to drag me out to run around the neighborhood, right? And as a kid, you never love it when your mom drags you out to go running, right? Like running is not something that you enjoy right away. Like I think I enjoyed football right away. I enjoyed basketball right away. And in football, I was always like a little bit quicker to the ball than most of my friends. And as the game grew longer and longer, I was quicker and quicker to the ball than most of my friends. So like there was definitely a little bit of that inbuilt innate running ability and a bit of stamina. But I really like worked on it in secondary school to develop it, and I maybe only like really fell in love with it in junior college. In secondary school, I was just doing it just to pass the time, and because my CCA, my friends were there. Didn't take it that seriously. I don't think I want to do it in my life. But in JSC, I met Coach Stephen Quack, who spoke to me. I remember at the age of 16, he spoke to me, and like the Sec 4 going on J1, and he told me, I think he had seen that I was talented, and I had potential, but he also seen that I was also quite, for lack of a better word, mischievous, and I didn't necessarily.
Raw, yeah.
Yeah. But he did tell me, like, he was like, at your age, Fandi Ahmad was scoring goals in national stadium, like, 60,000 people. What are you doing at your age? Like, you gonna take it seriously or not? And the fact that I still remember that conversation till today means he flipped the switch in my head. I was 16 years old. This was like 2007. 17 years ago. It's more than half my life ago. That's crazy. And yeah, I bought into the program and gave it my all, and ended up, winning cross country in both J1 and J2 when I was running for Raffles under the guidance of Coach Stephen Quek. Stephen Quek is he's a mentor of mine even until today. We still keep in touch, and last year when I don't know whether you know much about last year when I was like frozen out of the Singapore team for quite a few years when Singapore National Olympic Council SNOC was under the presidential guidance of the great Chuan Jin, and who is no longer there. But he, when he was there, I was frozen up for quite a couple of years, and I managed to get back on the team after like multiple appeals last year, and with a bit of help from I believe a bit of help from Edwin Tong. So he managed. I had to go for like some appeals hearing that nobody has ever heard of this before. Hearing, apply for a job, to get back on the team. And I basically had to tell them I'll behave myself, yada yada. And then eventually I got onto the team, and then it was 6 weeks ago, and I had to desperately get myself in shape because I wasn't playing with the SEA Games, right?
Yeah.
I was like, no, these people are not gonna pick me. And then 6 weeks ago, no shit. So then I went to Stephen Quek. We worked together, just like the good old days in Raffles. I was actually trying to pass my second year university exams as well. Luckily, thanks to COVID, everything moved online. So I was studying for my law exams and training for the SEA Games at the same time. Eventually, I got into shape, got fourth at the 5,000 meters, almost broke my own national record, and I got second at the 10,000 meters and broke my national record. And got a silver medal. So first medal in 40 years for Singapore in the 10,000 meters. So obviously that was pretty cool. And I definitely owe a lot of what I have learned to Stephen Quek, but I've also modified my approach over the years. All credit to Coach Stephen Quek. Now when I go back and I exchange ideas with him, he's quite receptive. He knows that I know what's best for myself, or at least. Not necessarily I know what's best for myself, but I have gathered enough knowledge to try what I think is best for myself, and usually it works. So yeah.
Yeah, that's really wonderful. To hear your story, the journey of how you got into running, and the tribulations and the adversities you faced.
Just a quick one. I remember back when I was younger, I was going through an incredibly tough period in my life where I had no one to talk to about my problems. There was no place I could share my honest thoughts and feelings because I was just so afraid of being judged by people. And I realized that was so bad for my mental well-being. It's like bottling up everything and just waiting for a day where it all explodes. So no, we're not gonna let that happen for you. Because my team and I have developed a free social app called Huddle.so, where you can share all your problems anonymously. Whatever is currently on your mind that's bothering you, whatever is making you upset or giving you sleepless nights. This is a non-toxic app where you can just be yourself, heal, and make many wholesome friends that will be there for you to support you during difficult times. The app is currently available on iOS at the moment, so good news for iPhone users. But we are working really hard to get an Android version out as soon as we can, so we don't miss out on the rest of you. So trust me, download the app, give it a shot, and I guarantee you that your future you will thank you for taking care of yourself. I'll put the link in the description below as well, and I'll see you in Hobbies.
But I really want to ask, what does it really mean to you, in words? As a born and bred Singaporean, breaking the national records for 6 national records for the 5,000 meters, both track and road, 10,000 meters, both track and road, half marathon, and a full marathon, and still undisputed. Describe into words how that feels. I
always tell people that the the brightest memory of all my national records was my first one, when I ran the 10,000 meters national record for the first time. I ran the 10,000 meters track national record 3 times in my life. The first time was in 2014, and I took an 8-year break, and then I set my second one in 2022, and my third one in 2023. So now it's and it's over 8 years. The old record was 31:19. I ran 31:15, and then 31:12, and then 31:10. So actually, in the last 8 years, I only improved my 10,000 meters by 5 seconds. But I mean, because I also went up to the marathon, I improved that by quite a bit, half marathon, 5K, and I mean, I'm definitely capable of a lot quicker than 10K. My 31:10 was run in the extreme heat of Cambodia. So I mean, no point saying can do, but never do. So I'll reserve the can do's until I know I can, but it doesn't matter till you go out and prove it, right? So I will go out and try 10,000 at some point this year, hopefully. But yeah, it's been fun.
Just really curious. I've not really kept abreast about all the developments in track and field, but just really curious about your recent ban from the Asian Games, but not the SEA Games in Cambodia. Can you shed some light on the reasons why?
Well, we can only speculate, because the reality is that the Singapore National Olympic Council was not the most transparent, and if I say any more about that, they're probably going to ban me for another 20 years, and maybe my sons and my grandsons as well.
Better not.
So, long story short, I've been told by people in the know that things might be a bit different now. I think the big irony was that what they kept trying to get me for was, unbecoming conduct, and, not being a proper role model, and behavior unbecoming, all that kind of stuff. But then the next thing you know, like, the own president has to resign because he's been having an extramarital affair that he's been covering up for years. So it doesn't really put you on the high ground to talk about morals and values when you yourself are not the epitome of it, right? And I don't have to say too much more about that, because everyone has already seen the hypocrisy. So I'll just let it cool off, and the next SEA Games is in Bangkok next year. So I think, if anything, and I think this is one of the things they said I was they used as unbecoming conduct in the past, but I'll say it anyway because I still believe in it. In the many years that they didn't pick me, Singapore won 0 distance medals on the men's side. For long distance, for middle and long distance, and the moment they put me back, then we got a medal again. So it's kind of like, I know medals are not the be all and end all, but if you go and interview any single one of my teammates on the team, they will tell you that Rui Yong was quite a positive influence, and I say that again, with all humility aside, since we're going to talk about these things. I know I'm a positive influence on the team. My teammates know it. The ones that seem to have their own opinions are the administrators, or God knows what. It was very clear that Chuan Jin had a personal grudge against me, and now that he's gone, hopefully things change. I was very appreciative that President Taman actually spoke up for me recently. I don't know if you saw that.
I did saw it.
So that was pretty cool. So I feel that things are on the change, and I just want to do my best to be a supportive member of the team. I'm never going to be one of those that just do nothing but stand there and espouse values and talk about role modeling and humility and blah and blah and blah. I think there's no point talking so much about this nonsense, because usually the people that preach the most are the people who are the most hypocritical as well. So I'm just a real guy, and people may not realize it, but national athletes are all real people. Some people just hide their flaws better than others, but that's just what it is.
And I respect that for being real. But firstly, do you feel there has been sort of, for lack of a better word, a witch hunt against you? In recent years, despite your remarkable sporting achievements representing Singapore, breaking numerous records, do you believe that there is a lack of respect for you in the sporting sense in Singapore, with more focus on off-field situations?
Talking about what situations? Off-field situations. Lack of respect for sport people. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, along those lines. Do you think people are focused on your off-field than your sporting achievements?
Oh, myself?
Yeah, no, people's perception on you.
100%. And you know why? Because people don't really know much about sports in Singapore. I think that people, I mean, like, and I mean, you kind of lie in the bed that you make for yourself, right? So I'm fully aware that in the past I've spoken up on issues way more vocally than the average sports person. But guess what? If the average Singaporean was to name, like, if you stop a random person on the street and you ask them to name like 5 Singapore sports people, I'm pretty sure I will make the top 5 almost all the time, right? It will usually be Joseph Schooling. Until recently, Shanti. I can tell you that even if not for last year's Asian Games win, a lot of people would struggle to name Shanti, and it was shocking because she was like our best sprinter of all time.
Yeah.
People just didn't know. It would be Joseph, it would be Shanti, probably they'll say Fandi Ahmad, or they'll say Fandi's sons. I don't think most people can even name the sons, right? And I think personally, based on what I've seen on on social media forums, whatever, Soh Rui Yong tends to make the top 3, if not top 5, or top 5, if not top 3, right? Of not in terms of like sporting achievement necessarily, but just like top of mind recall. So I mean, and here's the thing: if you ask people to name the second best like marathon runner or long distance runner, people would really, really struggle to do so. I mean, the answer right now is probably Sean Goh, or who was on the team with me at 10,000 meters last year.
I didn't have a name.
Exactly, yeah, and he was second to me at 2.4 last year, and he won the Singapore Half Marathon Championship last year. People don't know. So it's like, I know people know me because of my profile, but I've also like my profile. It's not. I mean, like, I think I've done quite well in sports, but it's also like I've spoken out against the establishment whenever I opposed like certain policies in sports. I've also been quite vocal. I've spoken out against homophobia, and I actually realized that it was such a divisive issue. This was last year. I mean, not just last year. I mean, like the last couple of years. I've always believed that people have the right to love whomsoever they please. But this is like when I say that on social media or whatever, even some of my supporters who are more conservative, they'll say, "Everyone, just stick to running," because they don't want to hear it. Yeah. So, yeah, but I have always been an ally of the LGBTQ plus movement, and I thought it was shocking that we as a developed society we criminalize gay sex between men all the way until November 2022. I've always been quite outspoken about that. But the issue in Singapore is that people are really afraid of the state, and for good reason. Right, our state can come down really hard on dissidents. So most people just kind of want to choose to go along. So when I speak out against homophobia, I'm also kind of speaking out against the state's policies. 377A. I think gay people have the right to be married. Sure, some people might think that would like corrupt the institution of marriage in Singapore. I don't think so. I think there have been multiple democracies around the world that have allowed gay marriages and still are functioning, happy societies. So but that's obviously that. Everyone has their opinions. I don't think people should be hung for speaking their mind. So but I obviously believe a lot more in this freedom of speech and like open debate than most. So there you have it.
I mean, and it honestly feels like you're just being you too at the end of the day, and you're just speaking.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm happy doing what I'm doing, and that's more than I can say for most people. And I think very often when people choose to stalk you or like nitpick on the things that you say on social media or whatever, they're the very people who are not very happy with their lives. I'm not just talking about the Olympic. I'm not talking about the Olympic Council. I know whatever I just described just kind of like links back to whatever they were doing on social media last year. Or he said this, he said that, highlighting they were transcribing my podcast like this and then like highlighting stuff. It just, to me, just so childish, right? And like life is so short. Some of these people are old, like reaching the end part of their lives and still wasting time on these things. To me, it's a bit childish. So anyway, I built my academy. It's like even if I don't represent Singapore again, I'm cultivating the new generation, and I'm sure that some good runners will come out of that. And I get as much satisfaction watching people achieve their goals and helping them achieve their goals as I do like achieving my own goals. So if I can represent Singapore again, I will deliver, and if I can't, then I mean, so be it.
but
someone that can.
That's very inspiring. And just a question that popped in my head. Have you ever received death threats or anything like that?
Yeah, death threats. Yeah, but I know Singaporeans. They're quite pathetic at death threats. They don't know how to do it properly. So it's not scary at all.
I wanted to ask about the legal dispute in the past, and it's fine really
Sure.
if you don't want to answer. Regarding your payment, right, it was around $320,000 to Ashley Liew.
Yeah.
About 2 years ago. There are questions about whether any significant part of that money was donated to charity on his part. To your current knowledge, has anything been donated at all from his end?
No. I challenged him to donate it, and he did not donate it. To my knowledge, at least. I think he just pocketed it, which I mean to me speaks a lot to the person's character. So you can go ahead and ask him that.
Short and simple. Earlier in the conversation, you said you're able to keep running until 45 years old, knowing your body, knowing your diet and everything. But what's next for you in running, and how long do you intend to continue competing? Until 45, like you said?
Yeah, like, put it this way, I want to do it as long as I can do it for. I am 33 in August this year. So 2 more years, then I enter the veteran category, which is exciting because, if I'm running as well as I am now or better, then I think I can do quite a bit of damage in the veteran age group. But at the same time, 35 is probably when might start having kids or something like that. So that will obviously be a time drain on my running. So I'm very, very motivated to make the business a success such that my work and my life can be more flexible, such that I can find that hour or two a day I need to train and raise my kids and earn the income I need to support my family. So but it's a good motivator, right? And I think that I've been blessed to be in a position where I can make money from what I love. I can make money by helping people do what they love, and I enjoy that. And rather than be stuck in a law firm or an office, working till 3 a.m. in the morning and then not being able to see your kids or run.
Yeah. And you just got married recently, yeah? Congrats on that, by the way.
Thank you. We haven't had the wedding banquet yet, but we have signed papers.
Wonderful. So outside of sports, outside of your sport, any interests and hobbies, anything you enjoy doing, in your own free time?
I do enjoy playing video games from time to time. I play FIFA with my flatmates. I play Dota online with friends or whatever. I enjoy activities that don't require me to move around a lot because after running 30 kilometers on a Saturday morning, you can imagine I do not want to move around very much at all.
So you've recently been, I've seen that you've recently been speaking a lot about football as well. Any favorite teams you support?
I've supported Liverpool since the year 2002. This was when my dad actually supported Arsenal, and Arsenal was the best team in the country back then. Arsenal and United, but that was the season right after Arsenal. Yeah. And I've always been one to support the underdog a bit. So back then, Liverpool was the underdog. In fact, Liverpool in many ways is still kind of the underdog now because now it's not United, it's City instead. So but I've always enjoyed that. I enjoy football, hence I play a lot of FIFA. I don't play a lot of FIFA. I wish I could play a lot of FIFA. I play FIFA whenever I can. But essentially, I enjoy activities that I obviously I'm quite competitive. So like FIFA, Dota, whatever. It's like you can catch me shouting at the screen or whatever. So stuff like that. It's all in good fun.
Wonderful. I'm a United fan, so last night
awesome, man.
Was good for us. 1-1. No, sorry, 2-2.
Yeah, 2-2.
Actually, just before we end, do you have some words for like your academy? Like what's your academy called?
Yeah, thanks. My academy's name is RunSohFast Academy, as per my Instagram handle. So it's RunSohFast Academy. Essentially we provide services from coaching you from 2.4K all the way to marathon. We have a triathlon coach and a strength and conditioning coach and a weight loss coach. So one of my friends from army actually came here, hey bro, I'm fat now. I want to lose 15 kilograms or whatever, or 20 kilograms, and I linked him up with our weight loss coach Richard Bull, and within the first 10 weeks he lost 10 kilograms. So he's a lot happier and more confident about his body and his life now. So good physical training habits and good fitness habits can really set you up for a lot more positivity in your life. So I highly recommend that people who you're thinking about getting started, get started. Don't sit there and think about it. And I have this thing called the 10-minute rule, where if you are struggling to go out for a run, just tell yourself, I'll just do it for 10 minutes. If I'm tired today, I'll just do it for 10 minutes. You go out, after 5-10 minutes, you realize that you've left all the negativity or the inertia behind you. Now you are more than happy to go out and go for 20 or 30 or 40 or whatever. So yeah, the 10-minute rule is something that I use all the time, especially when I ran a 35k run yesterday and I can't be asked to get out and run today. I just 10-minute rule, instead of 10 minutes, I'm running 10k or 15k or whatever. So yeah, 10-minute rule. But yeah, thanks for plugging the academy, and people should feel free to reach out either on Instagram or my email account, which is Soh Rui Yong at RunSohFast.com.
Beautiful. Thanks so much, man. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, the website, so www.runsohfast.com brings you to the website, and you can see everything from there.
100%. We'll definitely put it in the descriptions and everything. So once again, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for working so late, and I hope to see you again soon.
Definitely, no worries. Keep in touch, yeah. Take care. Have a good rest of the day. Good luck for your dissertation and for the rest of your law.
Thank you. I'm gonna need it.
Yes.
Bye bye.
Have a good day.
The first man to break the 4-minute mile, Roger Bannister. So Roger Bannister eventually ended up becoming a doctor, a neurologist, and he ended up doing a lot of research into brain science and possibly ended up saving lots of lives. And he has always said, this is well documented. He's not known for his work as a doctor as much as he is for breaking the 4-minute mile, right? But he's always said he wished that people, if he had to choose, he would wish that people knew him more for his work as a doctor than as an athlete. He said, I was only running for 8 years and I was a doctor for 60. And he said that the whole point of running is to prepare you and inculcate the values in you for the next stage of life. People who lost sight of that have missed the point entirely. Now, obviously, that was in the days of being of amateur sports, right? It's a lot different now where you can actually make a living out of sports. So that was a different time. It was the 1950s. But I do think that, why do we do running? Not all of us can make a living, but all of us can become fitter and healthier, happier. So one of my good friends here in running in London, his name is Alex Benson. And Alex Benson, he's not the fastest runner, put it this way. He's good. He's like 2 hours and 44 minutes for the marathon, so he's pretty good. But he's not like an ultra thin runner. He loves his beer. He's got a bit of a beer belly, but he enjoys the running, right? And he's so positive. Like whenever we see him, he's always smiling, cheering for us. He's never got anything negative to say. And I know people who are running like 30 minutes faster than Benson, but they're always miserable, or they're always overtrained, or they're always angry because either they have unrealistic expectations or they're training too hard. And I think anyone who trains too hard, you're always irritable because you have no energy left. You have no energy left to be social with people, and sometimes it's just a bit deluded as to what the ability is. But no, with Benson, he knows he's not the fastest guy, but all he wants to do is improve on what he did in his last race. And he shows up, he gets it done. He goes for a beer after, and he's just a happy dude. And I think that when running brings you that element of joy and social aspect and positivity, and you use that positivity to cheer for others and lift others as well. Yeah, I think everyone could do a bit of Alex Benson in their life, and I'm sure he'll be very happy with me saying this. So please put this up in the podcast or make it into a snippet.